On the 25th of May 2020, a 46-year-old black man went to the convenience store to buy a packet of cigarettes. The store employee said he gave a counterfeit $20 bill and called the police, as he should. The police came in and arrested this man. He was handcuffed, but that wasn't enough. One of these all-white officers, Derek Chauvin, pinned this unharmed man to the floor. Mind you, he was handcuffed. And that still wasn't enough. He thought it was okay to have his knee on this black man's neck and kept it there for 8 minutes 46 seconds. 8 minutes 46 seconds is how long Derek Chauvin had his knee on this black unharmed man's neck for. The black man kept saying, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe." But Derek Chauvin never listened. This black, unharmed young man took his last breath, calling for his mom. 8 minutes 46 seconds is how long it took Derek Chauvin to murder George Floyd, a father, a son, a friend, an unharmed black man in broad daylight. This act, captured by a very brave young girl, sparked a nationwide protest tagged #Black Lives Matter. And while this was ongoing, some white people started their own hashtag saying, "Shouldn't the protest be saying all lives matter?" As a black person, I was enraged by this tweet. Black lives matter because all lives matter. Imagine walking to a store and you're being followed around because the security thinks that you're prone to steal. When I was moving to Canada, my parents said, "Be careful, please. If you're ever stopped by the police, please obey before you complain, even if you're right." Imagine the worry and fear for their child. Natasha Simpson, a freelance journalist in BC, shared in an article that Ontario Human Rights Commission conducted a study, and that study revealed that black people are more than 20 times more likely to be shot and killed by the police compared to a white person. How many of you have taken time to ask your friend or who are black or from minority groups if they've ever had an experience of racism or discrimination and what you can do to help? How many of you joined the Black Lives Matter protest? How many of you have helped or spread the word that Black Lives Matter? If you're still asking, how is this any of my business? I would just ask you to please take what we call the privilege walk test. And if you stepped forward to more than 5 or 8 questions, think about those who probably couldn't move from their spot because they had no privilege. Think about those who probably stepped just 2 or 3 times. And there lies your answer. And that is why today I will be talking to you about why you should join the Black Lives Matter movement. So let's talk about how Black Lives Matter started. You know, this fight is not against white people. It is against any form of police brutality, racism, and discrimination. According to biography.com news, in 2013, 3 black radical women, Alicia, Patrice, and Opal, created a black-centered political movement called #Black Lives Matter. This was in response to the acquittal of George Zimmerman, an American who fatally shot and killed Trayvon Martin. This movement started not to offend anyone, but to educate, enlighten, and address the social injustice, the systematic racism, and years of oppression that Black people have suffered from. As Black Lives Matter developed throughout 2013 until date, the platform has been used as an organizing tool to amplify anti-Black racism across the world. After having established how this movement started, let's talk about how this movement has helped. Even though Black Lives Matter has faced so many criticisms, never have I seen Black people come together for a cause that would effect change like I have seen in the last 1 year. When we say that Black Lives Matter, it is to talk about how Black people have been deprived of basic human rights. It is to talk about the overrepresentation of Black people in the criminal justice system. It is to fight for the 70% of Black people who have experienced racism. According to NBC News, between 2014 and May 2021, people have been so aware of the injustice that Black people suffer. This movement has really moved the needle. And it has seen so many racists being held accountable for their actions. This movement has shown up for people like Tamia Rice, Tanisha Anderson, Maya Hall, Walter Scott, Sandra Bland, Mike Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and many other Black people who have died as a result of racism and discrimination. With the recent one being George Floyd. While BLM may not have reached its policy-based goals, its social and cultural impact can definitely not be denied. There is still so much to be done with Black Lives Matter movement, which is why I will be moving on to what can we do to sustain this movement and why you and everyone should be a part of this movement. On the 5th of July, CBC News published an interview where they spoke with Prodil, a young Black man who was assaulted by the police in Montreal. This young man said he witnessed another Black man being abused, and he tried to stay just to see what was going to happen. And as the result, he was harassed and assaulted as well. Even though he knew what the consequences were going to be for him as a Black person, he still stayed. That is how you can help. Call out racism when you see it. Hold racists accountable for their actions. You can also choose to elevate your level of awareness, your consciousness, your empathy. You can join us and let us all come together to speak against and challenge the inhumane behavior that makes anybody at all think it is okay to kill or harass anyone because of the color of their skin or their religious beliefs. The Black community cannot do this alone. It is a collective effort, and we all should be a part of this movement. Having established what Black Lives Matter is all about, the effect it has had and the changes it has effected, and how you can help this movement, I will be concluding by saying, yes, all lives matter. I totally agree with that. And Black lives should matter too. Black lives matter because all lives matter. No one should have to die or be harassed because of their ethnicity, their race, religion, or their diverse makeup. We have to challenge this and start holding people accountable. Remember I told you about how George Floyd was murdered in broad daylight. This movement, Black Lives Movement and Black Lives Matter movement, went viral. People came to the call for justice for George Floyd, and eventually Derek Chauvin was convicted of killing George Floyd and sentenced to 22.5 years in prison. However, that to me is not justice. Derek's family can always go to see him in prison. Also, he would eventually get out of that serving his term. But George Floyd's family, his daughter, will never see him again. She will never have to go to a function and say, oh, I'm inviting my dad. She would not have that first dance with her father. She would not get to see her dad at graduation, birthday parties, and so on. His wife would never see him again. His family, never, except through pictures. Though we're many people with different tribes and different tongues, different colors, but we are united. We can be united in our strength and resolve. And we should stand with one voice to say we all deserve to be treated equally. And in the words of Angela Davis, in a racist society, it is not enough to be non-racist. We must be anti-racist.